I just wanted to put something on your radar screen that struck me when I listened to Senator Moran's question about Leavenworth. We wrote a letter to you, a bipartisan letter, Senator Manchin and I. We have quite a few employees at the Hazelton prison that has over 3,000 inmates. A whistleblower came forward with pretty graphic details of mismanagement, abuse, and worse. And it's a chronic problem there because I think lack of workforce and lack of ability to staff up properly. I don't know if you have any reaction to what's going on at Hazelton specifically, or do I need to follow up with you?
Well, we'll follow up, but this has come to our attention, obviously, not only from your letter, and I believe the actions were taken over the last couple of weeks, but we'll get more information to you. I think you're right on the problem of recruitment. It's a difficult, it's not only Hazelton where it's difficult for us to recruit correctional officers. It's a very dangerous job in facilities that have, there's not been the capital investment over the last decades that's required. And sometimes state and local facilities not too far away are offering more money in terms of salary. So we have asked for money for retention and hiring more than the normal salary that we would otherwise be able to pay. That's what the director thinks is going to be necessary to recruit the number of officers necessary to provide safety in our prisons.
Right. I think safety is the issue. Obviously, it has been at that facility. I know you've answered a lot of questions on fentanyl, but this is a huge issue for West Virginia. We have the most really drug-related deaths per capita than any other state, and most of it's tied to fentanyl. Do you think that the $2.7 billion is an adequate budget for the DEA, and how could our resources be better prioritized to reduce and one day eliminate the amount of deaths we experience from fentanyl? Obviously, to stop the flow of fentanyl would be number one, but how would you respond to that?
We would always like more money, but we're obviously trying to live within the caps that were agreed to. I think the budget that we've asked for is a 6% increase over the enacted for 24. It includes a addition of 40 agents, which will be very helpful. This also includes money for diversion control, which was part of the problem in quite a number of states with respect to opioids. And then there's the money that we have available in grants with respect to, for, of course, state and local opioid addiction treatment and protection. So that's the more than $490 million in counter drug-related OJP grants, including the CARA grants and the COSOP grants.
You know, we took a trip to Mexico, met with the president of Mexico. Senator Moran was on that trip just briefly. And he was on the trip the whole time. It was a brief trip. Anyway, we sat in and listened to the president of Mexico basically tell us that you have a demand problem in the United States, and you've heard him say this publicly, and that because we were imploring him to stop the flow of the chemicals that are coming in from China and then having the development and production in Mexico and then flowing into the United States. What is the current state of that disruptive, or that needed disruption between the Mexican border and the United States in terms of getting the Mexican government to cooperate with our government law enforcement to be able to shut these things down?
Senator, I've sat through that same discussion 3 times by the president of Mexico, so I'm familiar with your frustration. I would say cooperation is improving, but much, much more is required. They have increased the number of precursor chemicals on the list that have to be registered to come in. They have, at our request, extradited a number of the people who we've indicted, the heads of the Sinaloa cartel, the Capitos, the sons of El Chapo. They have destroyed labs, and I will say, in connection, for example, with their arrest of Ovidio, the son of El Chapo, a number of their Mexican Marines lost their lives. They are facing an organization which, in many ways, has more heavy weaponry than some small countries. So it's dangerous for them, but it is not sufficient. And that's why I keep going. That's why my Deputy Attorney General keeps going. And that's why our law enforcement agencies at all the operational level keep going. to try to get more cooperation.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Senator Capito. Senator Britt.
Excellent. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Mr. General, thank you for being here today. Really appreciate it. During last year's hearing, I asked you about training materials that were used to prepare the U.S. Marshals assigned to protective details at the homes of our Supreme Court justices in the aftermath of the leaked Dobbs decision. Those training materials made it clear that far from having the full authority